All right, I am cracking my knuckles and getting ready to sit down and dive into lesson planning for the upcoming school year. So I thought I would take you along and show you a little bit of my process and what I mean when I say lesson planning and how easy it can be to get organized for the upcoming homeschool year. Hey guys, welcome back to my Practically Imperfect Life. If you're joining for the first time, welcome to my channel. My name's Abby and I'm a homeschooling mom of two. I have two high schoolers this year, one who is going to be a senior and the other who is going to be a junior. So we are nearing the end of our homeschool journey, and that means I've had lots of years behind me where I have been doing lesson planning for my kids. And I think lesson planning is one of those terms that people hear and a lot of times people kind of panic when they hear it. Oh my gosh, I have to figure out what my kids are going to do, and I'm going to have to discover like how to create lesson plans and how to put things together and pull resources and all of that. And I just want you to take a deep breath and know that it's not that hard to get your lessons organized. Now, my personal preference is to at least do a rough outline of our lesson plans for the upcoming year in the summer. I like to have a breakdown of kind of how we're going to be spacing things out over the months of our homeschool year. We homeschool for about 36-ish weeks. Sometimes we get done a little bit later than that. Just depends on what we have going on during the year. But I have kids who are athletes. They both golf. So we try to be done as early in May as we can possibly be. And in order to facilitate that, I have to look at what our curriculum is going to be covering and figuring out how can I space that out over those 36 weeks to allow us to get done in a reasonable time frame. Plus, we also have the requirement in our state to homeschool for 180 days. So that's a minimum of 36 weeks. It just doesn't specify how much time each day you need to be spending. So we, near the end of the homeschool year, oftentimes are finishing a lot of our curriculum early, and that means that our days get shorter and the workload gets a lot lighter for my kids. But lesson planning, what do I mean by that? I mean knowing roughly what it is we're going to be covering on a given day or on a given week. It doesn't mean that I'm going to have every single detail of that day planned out. I might know that we're covering a particular topic and that we're going to be using certain books, but I might not know which exact activities we're going to be doing related to that. It might mean that I know that there's going to be a test coming up, but I don't have the review pages ready for that, or don't have everything copied and ready to go. I just know that we're going to aim to test on a particular date. And it's different for each type of curriculum that we use. We use some that's very traditional curriculum, like our math, where there are set lessons and then there are a certain number of tests that are spaced out in between those lessons. We also use some non-traditional curriculum. I've talked many times before about Guest Hollow, which is more of a literature and activity-based curriculum, which means that there's a whole bunch of things that we can choose from and do as a part of that curriculum. And that is one where I have to look at it a little bit differently because it does take a little more time to kind of sort through what it is we're going to do from the list of activities and books that they provide and which ones we're actually going to be doing. And so for that, it's more of figuring out what topics are we going to be covering on different weeks and what main books do I need to have. But then as we start to get closer to those dates, I start to hone in on those activities. So I wanted to just take you along this summer as I was doing the lesson planning for my kids and show you kind of what I look at in the teacher guides and in the material to start putting into my lesson planner. Now, this year, I am using a digital lesson planner that I created, and I do have that available on my shop. So my Buy Me a Coffee shop is always listed down below in the description box. If you go there, there is a whole section with a lot of different homeschool resources that I've made and used. So everything that I make for that is stuff that I've either been needing in my homeschool, and so therefore I created it, or something I was using already and I've been sharing it with you guys. So a lot of things on there are free. There are a few things with a cost. The digital planner does have a small cost to it, but hopefully it'll be a helpful resource for you guys. I created it because I was using a combination of Word student planners for my kids. Like I had a Word document, I typed things in, I printed it out for them, but I also kept track of all of our lesson plans for the year in an Excel document. And I wanted to create something that was like two birds, one stone, and automatically filled in their lesson planner pages and all of that. So that is why I created that particular thing. Now, planning out your whole homeschool year might not be your thing. I know there are lots of homeschool moms out there who simply do kind of the open and go or whatever's next in the book type of thing. I really just like to know what the outline is going to be for the year. And again, as we start to move into a section of the year, I really will focus in on getting really well prepared for that block of time. Typically, I like to make sure that I have a really good understanding of what's coming up in the upcoming 6 weeks. So before the first day of our homeschool year, I want to make sure that I know what books my kids are reading, that everything is copied, that all of my supplies are gathered, that it's just ready to go. And then as I get closer to the end of that 6 weeks blocks, I do the same thing for the next 6 weeks. And it just gives me some peace of mind knowing that everything is ready to go and there's nothing that I need to be rushing around and prepping for the next 6 weeks. It's just a little breather for me, which is great because I'm a super busy person. I work outside of the home. I work from home. I just have a lot going on. So taking some extra time to get those 6-week blocks ready is super helpful. But also taking some time in the summer and making sure that at least the outline of my whole year is done is even better. Now, you could choose to plan out your whole homeschool year. You could choose to plan half the year. Maybe you just want to do the first quarter, or maybe you just want to do it 1 week at a time. But I do encourage you to at least be looking ahead in your students' materials. I find that this is beneficial in multiple ways. First of all, you can make sure you have everything on hand that you need. If there's stuff you need to order, get from the library, purchase from the store, scrounge up from, your homeschool supplies, it gives you time to do that. Also, especially in high school, I think it's really helpful to know what topics your students are going to be studying. High school topics get harder. They get more complicated. And it doesn't mean that you have to be an expert in all of these subjects your kids are doing. I'm not saying that because I know that's a reason why a lot of people choose not to homeschool in high school is because they worry they can't teach the material. But at least get familiar with what it is your students are going to be covering, because they're going to have questions and you want to be able to either A, answer those questions for them, or B, be able to direct them to where they can find an answer. If there's something that you don't know how to teach, or you don't know how to work out that type of math problem, or you don't understand that science concept, it gives you some time to find some resources for them. What are some websites or videos they can check out? Maybe you just want to scan through their book and through the teacher guide and just give yourself a little bit of an overview of what it is they're covering. But I find that that is super helpful, especially since there's a lot of topics that we haven't looked at since we went to high school many, many, many years ago. So those are part of the reasons why I like to do this. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, which means that I can usually get through lesson planning fairly quickly, but I'm going to slow it down a little bit to be able to kind of take you guys through my process. I really wanted to show you, like I said, where I find information in the different curriculum books and then how I kind of plug that in to my overall planner. So today, I think what we're going to do is we're going to start with 1 or 2 simple subjects, ones that are pretty well outlined, and then we will do one that is a little more unique. We'll probably look at one of our guest hollow programs and just give you an idea of how that breaks down. So let's just dive right on in and get some lesson planning done. Okay, so I said we were going to start with 2 simpler subjects to get planning done for, and then one that was a little more complex. So we're going to get my son's math in the planner, we're going to get grammar, and then we are going to work on his U.S. History Year 1. So a little bit of everything. Now, the first thing I like to do when I'm going to be doing planning is I want to make sure I have everything I need in front of me. So I've got my laptop right here, and I'll pull up my digital planner. I've got the teacher booklets for the different subjects. And most curriculum nowadays will at least provide, if not a direct syllabus of like what they suggest you do each day, at least some guidance or some suggestions on how to work things out, or a breakdown of how many lessons there are and things like that. Like we used to use BJU literature for my son, and they actually in the front of their teacher book had a very detailed 180-day lesson plan. And you could follow that or you could adapt it, and I always adapted it based on what we wanted to do. So I always like to look in the teacher materials first to find the information that I need. Now with our math, I have more books here than what we actually need. I brought over the solution manual because I just like to really focus that if you're going to do Sax and math, go ahead and get the solution manual. It works out every single step of every single problem fantastic if you're trying to help your student figure out where they are stuck at and keep guiding them along the way. This is one of the big reasons why we left using Shoreman Math and we went back to Saxon, which is what we had been using forever. And I don't know why I ever made the switch, because it worked so well for our family. And I'm so excited that we are back to doing it again. Anywho's, the information that I need for planning math can be found in the homeschool packet and the test form. So the homeschool packet has a section in the beginning that, you know, I always read. I always suggest you read. It talks about introducing the course, materials that are available. It has their website information, how to get in touch with them if you're having any problems or if you need any suggestions. There's even like a math help email if there are specific math questions. And then there's a planning the course part. So that's the part that I wanted to make sure that I really read. So in that section, it mentioned that there are 125 lessons in this math program. Now again, we homeschool for 180 days. So right off the bat, I'm going to take away the 125 from there. Those are for the different lesson days. Now in the test booklet, it says that there are 31 tests, and then it tells me after which lesson I need to do those. So I take my 180 days, I subtract the 125 days we're going to do for lessons, and then 31 days for exams, and I'm left with 24 bonus days, like 24 extra days. So I have a couple of options here. 24, it's not quite enough to only do math like 4 days a week. You know, it would be great if he could do math 4 days a week and then, you know, take it off, but we would have to extend math out a lot longer. We can't do that. So what do? Do we just do 5 days a week and then get done a little earlier? And that's probably the route that I'll do. That's what we've done in the past. So the lower levels of Saxon Math had 120 lessons with the exams. So we actually were able a lot of times to only do math 4 days a week. But since there's a few more lessons on here, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to initially schedule this 5 days a week, especially at the start of the year where we're doing some review and where the lessons are a little bit easier. And I will leave those 24 days blank kind of at the end of the year. And as we start to get into the more complicated material, so maybe after we get through like the first quarter or so of the school year, maybe at that point, that would be a good idea to start moving math to 4 days a week. So do the first 12 weeks, so a little over the first quarter, do the first 12 weeks, 5 days a week. And then build in that 5th day, free day, for the last 24 weeks. I think that might be a good idea, because he's going to get into the more complicated math, right? It's going to get harder. And then that way he has like a catch-up day. So if things were, a little bit harder and he needs a little more time to work on lessons, he can do that. If there's a test coming up and he wants to spend a little extra time studying, he can do that. But having kind of that sort of like a study hall day. And I might even just kind of put that in the planner, as that's a math catch-up day, a chance to kind of go back through and make sure that, he understands things. It could also be a good math correction day. If I'm grading and I'm handing it back, like he can look through and see the things that he's missed and done that. So I think that's what I'm going to do. We'll put that in the planner like that. So I'll show you all this on the digital planner here in a minute. Now, the other thing that I grabbed is grammar. Now, grammar isn't a separate subject for us. It's part of his overall English curriculum. So that's going to be like his literature studies, his writing, his vocab, and then this as well. Vocab, I'll show you, that's going to be a little bit of a copy paste for me, because my daughter used the same vocab program last year. And so I saved last year's planner and how I broke down the lessons for her. He's going to do the same thing, the same way. So that makes life easy to be able to do that. That's one of the things that's nice if you're reusing programs. Anyways, he had done Fix-It Grammar before. Fix-It Grammar has 6 levels to it. He's completed all 6 levels, but I really didn't want him to go, the last 2 years of high school without some sort of grammar review. He's just not as strong in it as his sister was. So I feel like just a little bit of daily review is a good thing. And so I picked up the Easy Grammar Ultimate series, and it's pretty easy, 180 days. So one lesson every day for 180 days. And we'll just put it in the planner, easy grammar lesson 1, easy grammar lesson 2, so on and so forth. And they're not long. I mean, it's 1 page for the day. So, I mean, this should take him like 10, 15 minutes tops to do. So we're going to get those into the planner first, and then we're going to take a look at world history. All right, I have my son's digital planner opened up here. You can see all of his subject categories on the top. We're doing Precalculus, physics. I do have 2 different columns set aside for the Guest Hollow history course. I'm going to split up the assignments in the planner so they fit better. So all of the reading assignments from the different books will be in one column, and activities and videos will be in the second one. And I just think that'll allow it to flow into the planner better. He's also going to be doing an English course, so that has a literature component. I'm going to list that separately from language arts, which will be grammar, vocab, and writing assignments. And then we have life skills and Bible and Hebrew. All right, so I can start entering in assignments here on the first day of Precalculus. I'll just start off by putting that he should, read the first lesson. And then I'm going to put in that he needs to watch the lesson video. So we're using Nicole the Math Lady. And I'm not each day going to write in, watch Nicole the Math Lady, video lesson 1. I'm just going to say, watch the video lesson. So whichever lesson he's reading and being assigned, he will know, watch that particular lesson. And then, of course, complete the assignment. Now, from looking at the teacher guide, it looks like there will be 8 lessons and then the first exam. And then it will go 4 lessons exam, 4 lessons exam after that. So I can do a little bit of copy and paste to make this a little faster. I can just copy what I just wrote, and I can paste it into the next couple of boxes and then just go in and change the lesson number to what I need it to be. So I will get those copied in there and then start adding in the tests. And then I can also start getting some of the grammar typed in. The grammar will kind of go similar. I'll write in, easy grammar day 1, easy grammar day 2, and just continue that down the line. So I'll get the first couple in here, and then what I'll do is I will pause filming and get math and grammar all entered in, and then show you guys how it is looking. All right, those 2 subjects are all entered in here on the planner. I got everything in, and then if I scroll down to where week 13 starts, you'll be able to see that I started to put in those study days I was talking about. I really do think that that will work out great, doing 5 days a week of math the first part of the year, and then as we get into the harder math, building in that study day. So grammar's in there as well. And then let me show you what it looks like on the planner view. So you can print 2 different versions. You can print a 1-page version, or you can print a 2-page. I am probably going to use the 2-page simply so I don't have to shrink the text up at all, and it just fits in a little bit better. So that's the view of what we're going to be doing. And now on to history. All right, so U.S. history is going to be one of our kind of non-traditional courses. It's one of our Guest Hollow courses. And those incorporate videos and different books, online resources, hands-on activities. Like, they have basically a list of all these different things you can pick and choose from to have your student do. On top of that, there is a student workbook you can print out. So I have that printed out. I will end up spiral binding that here at home, and then my son will do those pages as he does the reading. And you get what's called like their schedule with it. I've explained this in a bunch of like introduction to Guest Hollow videos, so I'm not going to go too big into detail on that. But just know that there is a schedule that you get as the teacher. It lists all of the different books that that they recommend. You don't have to get them all, but you can. And then when you get to the actual weeks of school, you get a page that looks kind of like this. Sometimes it's 1 page. More often than not, it's 2 pages. So I just print them out front and back. And it breaks down over a 5-day week the different reading assignments and the different activities and whatnot, or if you're reading a particular book, what chapters to do on different days. I will pull this up on my computer to show you. Now, I print off the schedule. This is me personally. I like to print off the schedule, and when I'm planning, I go through and I actually will mark all of this in like pen or pencil on my copy. Things that I know we're going to do, things that we're not going to do, and then I put it in my student's planner like that. But there's a PDF version of this you get, but there's also a Word document version that you can edit. So what I'll do is I'll show you basically what I'm doing on paper, on the computer, on the Word document one, so you can see it a little bit better, and how it is that we kind of cut and paste and do all of that stuff. And then we will get this in the digital planner as well. All right, here is the Word document version of the schedule for U.S. history. So you can see there's lots of different categories of activities to look at. There's map work, there are books to read, there are links to websites, they have videos, links to activities. I mean, there's just a lot to choose from, and I like to look at this in 6-week blocks. That's just my planning preference rather than trying to go through and decide exactly what we're going to do for the entire school year. That would take quite a bit of time. So I find 6 weeks of planning to be pretty manageable. Every week is a little different in terms of how much is available for you to pick and choose from, but we're just going to go back up to week 1 so I can go over the things that are listed there. Now, their courses typically will have something that's listed as the spine book or the spine textbook. Sometimes that's a book you purchase. So like when my daughter did botany, there was a book we would be using as a spine. Their food science course, there was a spine book. And then for this one, we're using a Patriots history. Other times they have a textbook that they have written, and that will be an online textbook that you just click the links that they have in the schedule and it'll take you right to it. So we won't skip any of the reading for the spine book, and you'll notice that it just has the kind of like subheadings that he's to look for and read, and that's fine. I mean, I could just have him use like a bookmark and find the next section he's going to be reading, but I'm probably going to just pull out the book and look and see what page numbers those sections are on. I think that'll just be easier for him to quickly find what he's supposed to read. And then after Patriots history, he also has reading assignments from A Voyage Long and Strange and Cartoon History of the United States and Colonial Living. A Voyage Long and Strange, I did pick up that book, and it looks like we're doing like a chapter a day. Now, I know for a fact that that book's a little bit wordier. It might take him a little bit longer to do those reading assignments, but I didn't want to miss out on the information in that book. So I am going to make sure to include that. We'll just give him plenty of time to do those reading assignments. And then the other 2 should be fairly short and quick reading assignments, ones that just take him a few minutes to do. As we move down, you can see that there is map work that is assigned from MapTrack. Now, this is an optional purchase. It's like an online program, I think through Masterbooks, where you can do mapping activities. I'm not going to make that purchase. I feel like he's got pretty decent mapping skills and geography skills. We did several geography courses in middle school, so I'm going to skip that purchase. But if you have a student who enjoys geography or needs to strengthen their geography skills, that could be a fairly inexpensive option for something interactive they can do online. And then let's take a look at the workbook, because there are workbook pages assigned for each week. I like the workbooks. They're very clear cut for the student as far as what they need to do when. So you'll see which week you're on listed, the book that the assignment is coming from, and then the sections that the questions come from. So for example, when he's reading the section, The Mayflower and the Pilgrim's New World, or the book, The Mayflower and the Pilgrim's New World, when he reads chapter 1, there's the questions that he needs to read for that particular day when he's doing those reading assignments. So it's really easy for them to follow along and see what reading assignment goes with which questions in the workbook. And not every reading assignment will have corresponding workbook questions. So the workbooks are also really, thorough. They have lots of good information, very colorful. I enjoy them. I will put down which workbook pages he's going to do with each one. Then for the activities, I'll just click on the links and decide if we're going to do those. And then the videos, I do go through and decide which of these videos we're going to watch. We aren't going to do all of them. I like to create playlists for my kids to use. Someone had asked if I would put like live links to the videos in their planner. Well, no, because I'm printing out their planners. But I will create a playlist on our computer that will make it easy for them to find the videos they're supposed to watch on a given week. So let me just open up Firefox here really quick. So all of our computers have us logged into Firefox. You can see I have folders set up for the courses we did last year. So history, food science, and things like that. And then within a folder, you can create subfolders. So I created subfolders for weeks 1 through 36. And then in each folder, I just bookmarked whichever videos or websites they needed for that particular week. So you can see the ones that I did for world history. It's really not that hard to get this set up. It takes a few minutes at the start of the year to create your folder and then like your 36 subfolders. You just go in and get them added. But then as I'm doing those 6 weeks blocks of planning, then I will go ahead and bookmark the videos I want them to watch on the correct weeks. So I'm just going to create one here for US history, and we'll start adding in videos. Now, I don't watch all of these videos in their entirety. Typically, I can see the first
few minutes of a video or kind of scroll through it and decide if it's something that I want to keep in there. I want them to be educational and like provide information, which I know all of these will do, but I also want to make sure that I'm looking at the length of the videos and things like that. So if the video is really long, is it long and engaging, or is it adding more beyond what the reading assignments are giving? Sometimes I will pick and choose based on how heavy the reading assignment is that day, or if there's like a short video plus a long video or multiple short videos. I just try to balance it out. But if I want to save it, I will just put it in the correct folder. So here I'm going to put it in the week 1 folder for US history, and then it is bookmarked, and you'll see that it is available now in his playlist. If he goes to US history week 1, he'll see that video is saved there for him to do. So I'll just kind of go through and do this for all of the different videos and decide which ones I'm going to use. And I might not all do them on the actual day that they are assigned on here. I might move them around to balance things out a little bit better. So I'm going to go through and get the first 6 weeks of history typed in, and then I'll show you guys what it's going to look like in his planner. All right, so I paused after entering in the first week. I figured I'd just show you guys what this looks like. So I've got the reading assignments in here under this first column. I didn't cut any reading assignments for this week. I want to make sure that we're utilizing those resources. I did pull out the Patriots history book and add in the page numbers. I figured that would be a little easier for him to be able to find that section he's supposed to read. I left the section heading on there, but I just wanted it to be quick for him to find where he's supposed to read, because it is a pretty big book and whatnot. So I have all of the different reading assignments on there. And then another thing that I did was add in a little star next to the reading assignments that have corresponding workbook pages. So rather than putting the workbook page number, I just do the week 1 workbook pages, but the reading assignments that have corresponding workbook questions, I put a star next to. So you can see, like, for this first day, he's going to read from A Voyage Long and Strange, and I just did a shorthand version of that title. He'll know what I mean because we'll pull those books out, but there's no workbook pages or workbook questions to go with that, just for the Patriots history. And then on other days, there are multiple days that have, or multiple reading assignments that have corresponding workbook pages. So I've got that on there. Now in the second column, I have the videos and other activities listed for him. I just put the kind of the start of the title of a video on here so he can easily figure out from that saved playlist which video he's supposed to watch. I did move things around a bit. Like Monday, there was only 1 video listed, so I pulled a video from day 2 to space it out and even out how much video time he's doing on the days a little bit better. There was also a mention of this graphic organizer to download and fill out as he's watching certain videos. So I will print that off. I went ahead, I've already printed that off and put it in his history drawer, and he'll fill that out as he goes through. But that is what I do for the videos. Now, how does this look on the actual planner? So here's the 1-page view. You can see that it actually is a little bit large for the 1-page view. Now, I could go in, and if I wanted to print the 1-page planner, I can unlock this sheet just using the provided password, and then I can shrink the text in that box to make it fit. So I could just take it down a little bit and it'll fit just fine if I do that. However, I don't like to have the print be super small for him. So I am most likely going to go ahead and use the 2-page view, which I purposely included this because I knew how much I was going to need to include. And you can see it fits just fine in the slightly larger font. And that is our lesson planning for the first couple of subjects. So I will fill in all the rest of these, and then we will be all set. What I will do then for the week 7 and beyond for history is just put in a topic on each of the weeks. So, on week 7, here's the general topic, just so I can kind of look ahead and be thinking about what things he's going to be looking at. When we start planning his literature, that will make sense about why I'm trying to at least know what eras we're looking at on different weeks.
All right, so that's a couple of subjects crossed off my list as far as lesson planning. It's a good start to what we're going to be doing throughout the month of July, getting all of the lessons ready for the start of our homeschool year in August. I hope this video was helpful to you, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave a comment down below, and I will try to answer them as best I can. If you are still looking for a digital planner and you would like to check out mine, I do have, like I said, it's linked in my shop, and I do have a video where I walked you through the lesson planner, how it works, how you enter things, and kind of all the features of it. So I will link that video down below as well, and I'll put it up here in a card if you would like to check that out. Thanks so much for joining me for today's video, everybody. I will see you in the next one, and until then, happy homeschooling.